everyone, this is Sam with the Wine News in 5. Before I get to the news, congratulations are in order. The winners for the 67 Pall Mall Global Communicator Awards, the Pulitzers of the wine writing world, were announced today, and our Julia Harding MW won the Gusborne Award for Best Global Wine Communicator in Long-Form Writing for her article, The Resurgence of Pico's Magnificent Wines. Congrats are also in order for the other winners, of course. Mariana Hunt won the Short Form Writing Award for her work in Glug magazine. Vincent and Lisa Anter of the V is for Vino wine show won the award for long form video. Desiree Harrison Brown won the award for short form video for her work as Wino Noir on Instagram. Felicity Carter of the Drinks Insider podcast won the audio award. And finally, Jamie Good took home the award for Best All-Around Communicator. And before you go feeling bad for me because I lost to Jamie, the man put out a TV show this year, hosts a podcast, keeps his website updated, and managed to write for winemag.co.za. I'm truly happy to see his work rewarded. And I'm coming for that trophy next year. Congrats to everyone who won. In terms of global news, today I'll give you updates on wildfires in Napa and Galicia and Trump tariffs before discussing a new trade agreement between Mercosur and the EU, hail in southwest France, Austria and DO Cava hitting organic milestones, and the start of harvest in northern Italy, Beaujolais, New York, and Valdeorras, starting with an update on wildfires in California and Spain. According to CAL FIRE's website, Napa's 6,819-acre, 2,760 hectare picket fire is 90% contained. However, according to firefighter and winery owner Christopher Morrisoli, who emailed Jancis on September 3rd, the fire is out entirely. There was no damage done to buildings or to people. Smoke taint concerns are currently confined to a small number of producers in Napa Valley's Howell Mountain AVA and in the Pope Valley area. Producers in this area told the San Francisco Chronicle that they would begin testing for smoke taint this week. On August 31st, El Español reported that the fires that ravaged Galicia in August, burning through 78,551 hectares, 194,104 acres, are now officially extinguished. These were the largest fires in Galicia's history and affected vineyards in the DOs of Ribeiro, Ribera Sacra, Valdeorras, and Monterrey. Noah Chichester reported this week that while many vineyards burned around their perimeters, affecting this year's crop but leaving the majority of the vineyard unharmed for future vintages, this was not the case for the Alvaredos Hobbs winery, who saw the whole of their vineyards affected. Co-owner Paul Hobbs was quoted as saying, "I have a feeling we've lost more than one vintage." On to Trump tariffs. On August 29th, the U.S. Court of Appeals in Washington, D.C. ruled 7-4 that Donald Trump had overstepped his authority by imposing global tariffs. This is the same conclusion that the U.S. Court of International Trade came to earlier this year. The appeals ruling voids reciprocal tariffs as well as tariffs imposed on the goods from Mexico, Canada, and China in response to what Trump views as those countries' roles in the fentanyl trade. The U.S. Court of Appeals stated on the 29th that their ruling would not take effect until October 14th, giving the Trump administration time to file with the Supreme Court, which they did on September 3rd. Dean John Sauer, Solicitor General of the U.S., has requested that the Supreme Court decide by September 10th whether or not they will hear the case. Provided they will, he requested that they schedule oral arguments in the first week of November. The outcome of this case, filed by 5 small businesses, including New York-based wine importer VOS Selections, will affect the entire wine industry. Tariffs have negatively impacted every facet of the wine business, from international producers who rely on the U.S. market to import their wines, to their U.S.-based importers and distributors, and the U.S. wine shops and restaurants which stock their wines, to U.S. producers who use imported equipment to process their grapes and mature and package their wines. The trade war has also lost U.S. producers their biggest export market, Canada. It is my hope that for our industry that should the Supreme Court choose to hear this case, they will rule with the U.S. Court of International Trade and the U.S. Court of Appeals. On to potential new trade deals for the EU. On September 3rd, the European Commission presented an EU-Mercosur trade accord. The Mercosur bloc includes Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, and Uruguay, and an updated EU-Mexico trade agreement for approval. If at least 15 out of the 27 EU member countries approve these trade agreements, it will create the world's largest free trade zone. The European Commission estimates that agri-food exports to Mercosur would grow by almost 50% as a result of drastically reduced tariffs. One of the main beneficiaries would be the EU wine industry, which would see tariffs reduced by up to 35%. This deal would also strengthen protections for EU geographical indications in both the Mercosur bloc and Mexico. It's worth noting that while many European farmers oppose this deal, saying that it will lead to cheap agricultural imports that are not forced to comply with the same food safety standards as EU agricultural products, the European Committee of Wine Companies, the CEEV, has spoken in favor of the agreement and cited strong growth potential for exports of European wine to Brazil and Mexico. On to hail in the Gers. On August 31st, just a day before harvest began, an intense hailstorm swept through the Gers region in southwest France. Crop losses are estimated at up to 80%, and the cooperative winery in Condom reports damage to 500 to 600 hectares, 1,230 to 1,480 acres of their members' vineyards. Next, Austria hits a new milestone with organic vineyards, and DO Cava achieves their organic goal. This week, the Austrian Wine Marketing Board announced that 25% of the country's vineyards are now certified organic, equating to 10,524 hectares, 26,000 acres. This is a larger percentage than any other major wine-producing country in the world. The closest runner-up was Spain, with 17.8% of vineyards certified organic. Spain's DO Cava announced this week that all Cava de Garda Superior wines, an umbrella category that includes Reserva, Gran Reserva, and Cavas de Paraje Calificados, entering the market from 2025 onwards, will have been produced entirely from certified organic vineyards. Due to aging requirements, this means that this applies to wines labeled with the 2022 vintage and beyond. On to harvest in northern Italy, Beaujolais, New York, and Valdeorras. On August 29th, Harper's announced that the largest DOC in Italy, Della Venezia, has begun harvest. Quality is expected to be good, with yields 5 to 10% more than they were in the 2024 vintage. In Beaujolais, harvest began on August 23rd for Chardonnay and August 25th for Gamay. When I emailed Natasha Hughes MW, the author of the recently published The Wines of Beaujolais, for more details, she told me that yields this year are low and many producers have already completed their harvest. Quality looks to be good. In Oregon's Willamette Valley, winemaker Kim Abrahams of Archery Summit texted to say that harvest has been ongoing in Willamette Valley since the end of August. In New York State, Brian Barmore, winemaker for 21 Bricks Winery in Lake Erie, AVA, emailed to say that their harvest started on September 3rd with Pinot Noir for sparkling. They will be harvesting Marquis, a hybrid bred by Cornell, today, September 5th. Finally, Noah Chichester posted a photo essay of harvest in the Valdeorras DO on his Wines of Galicia website. Despite the fires, it seems that the Godeo harvest was well underway by August 22nd. That's all for this episode of the Wine News. If you enjoy this newscast and you'd like to see it continue, please become a member of jancesrobinson.com. And if you have breaking news in your area, please email me at news@jancesrobinson.com. Thanks.